And welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Heather Childers along with Joe Pinion. And we do have some breaking news to report to you regarding New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. We've been following this story for everyone in terms of how they left out a significant number of deaths related to the nursing home scandal here across the state. It was a difference of about 40%, I believe.
Right.
15,000 people
15,000 people dying. Of course, they had it down in the, I think, 9,000s, when in all actuality, that was not the case. So.
Yeah. So apparently there's been a pushback, we've been telling you, but from both Democrats and Republicans across the state. And we're just getting word that one of those Democrats who originally spoke out against Cuomo and said that he needs to be investigated, that he should resign, was Assemblyman Ron Kim, once again a Democrat. And he has now come out and said that last week, New York's Governor Cuomo called him while he was giving a bath to his young children and threatened to destroy him. So Governor Cuomo not only not backing down, but now apparently placing calls and making threats.
Well, again, at some point you have to have a conversation about when does this thuggery get checked. I mean, you have the media who is completely enamored by all things Cuomo. They haven't called him into account for anything. We've got his own staff members saying that they purposely misled the public on these numbers, not just, again, to the detriment of our nationwide response, but also to the detriment of the federal response, because you have to also remember they hid these numbers from the feds, right, at a time when we were trying to figure out what are the best practices. So they were holding themselves up as the model for the country, while also failing to tell us that, by the way, the death tolls for the most vulnerable was 50% more higher. I mean, you could call that, you know, I don't know what you want to call that, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't right. And the fact that even in this moment, he is now tripling down on his power as the governor to threaten the legislator to say that he can destroy him, it's beyond the pale.
Yeah, I mean, he said in that press conference that we listened to misinformation that resulted in a void. He called it a void. He also doubled down on his comments about people are still going to die in nursing homes, blaming everyone except himself, not taking responsibility. But then there are these polls that have come out here in the state of New York specifically, and people have not lost faith in him. So it's amazing the difference that media coverage can mean, because we do know his brother, his younger brother, works over at CNN, and they have yet to address this issue fully. We'll see if those numbers in terms of Governor Cuomo's favorability change once more people know the facts of the situation, which is, in fact, they hid those numbers because the Trump administration at the time had launched an investigation by the DOJ in at least 3 different states, New Jersey and New York included, into the deaths in nursing homes across those states.
Well, I think to that point about the media, when you have to really focus on the fact that what is the world that we're trying to build here? These same individuals who say that they're tired of the divisiveness in our public discourse, that they want accountability from people who are elected, time after time, this selective outrage. When you have some people who are so obsessed with every single tweet that President Trump sent out, and yet here we have somebody who literally lied to the public. Life and death situation. It is unambiguous. It is clear as day that this person, for their own personal gain, for their own personal professional ambitions, was willing to say to the world that we've done this great job, when in fact the numbers reflected something quite different. And I think that, as he called it, a shiny object, that Republicans were looking for some type of shiny object to deflect. The only person doing the deflecting was this governor. And I think that the families that now have empty beds in their homes, those families that now have cell phones with voicemails, that's the only way they can remember the voices of those loved ones. Those are the people that have to actually have someone answer to them, why did this happen to the people that we love?
You know who would be great to hear from on this would be the great Rush Limbaugh. Speaking of holding people, talking about the loss of Rush Limbaugh today at the age of 70 and what that will mean not only for talk radio, but for conservative media sources like ours. I mean, I do believe that if Rush Limbaugh had not been the powerhouse that he was and that he became, that Newsmax, Fox News, OAN, all of these organizations would not be what we are today.
Yes, it truly is in many ways the end of the era. But coming up, we'll be continuing our coverage of the death of Rush Limbaugh. When we get back, you're watching American Agenda.